What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, April 1st, 2025, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. And no, this is not an April Fool's joke. It is 15:20 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and the Middle East. So the world is watching and waiting to see what is going to happen in Iran after the U.S. moved 7 out of 20 of its stealth bombers to the Indian Ocean base of Diego Garcia. We now have some updated information coming in from Israeli Channel 14. A large-scale attack on Iran will begin soon, according to sources inside of Israeli Channel 14, Israeli military sources. Okay, they're saying a large-scale attack on Iran will begin soon, and it's going to be the most unprecedented since World War II. Wow. So guys, get prepared. Things are really escalating. And Iran threatened to strike our bases in the Middle East and also to strike us here at home in the Gulf of America. And over the weekend, this IRGC plane landed in Venezuela, and this plane in the past was used by Iran to move equipment, specifically weapons, into Africa to support their proxies in Sudan. So this is very serious, guys. And also the supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah Khamenei, said that if the U.S. bombed Iran, then the U.S. would suffer a heavy blow. So there's a lot of things that Iran can do to retaliate against us. They can activate sleeper agents inside of the U.S. to attack our power grid and various types of critical infrastructure. They can launch missiles at some of our bases in the Gulf of America. And they can also attack our bases in the Middle East, and they can also attack oil fields in the Middle East. They can try to harass ships in international shipping lanes like the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz. So this could really spiral out of control very, very quickly. And I wanted to show you guys something very unusual. So the DoD on their website is showing that none of the top DoD officials have any open press events for the next several days. Okay, here you can see the Secretary of Defense, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, and the acting chairman, the Joint Chief of Staff. Okay, so he is the acting Joint Chief of Staff while Dan Kane gets confirmed. So this is very, very unusual for all of our top brass, essentially, to not have any press events for several days, and there's currently no live events scheduled at the Pentagon. So this is very, very concerning. And this afternoon we had more U.S. Nuclear War Command and Control planes up in the air. These are the Boeing E-6B Mercury planes, and they're responsible for communicating with our submerged nuclear-armed submarines. And for those of you guys who don't know, 2/3 of our nuclear weapons are in our submarines. Okay, so it's a critical component of our nuclear triad, and these planes are critical in sending out attack options and launch orders to our nuclear-armed subs, and they can also remotely launch all of our Minuteman missiles from the air. But we had 3 of these airborne today, and what's concerning is that they've been flying with their information hidden. So typically when planes go up into the air, they have their registration information and the type of aircraft, their altitude, etc. But these nuclear warplanes have been flying with none of that, okay, which is very, very unusual. You can see one over Montana here, one over West Virginia. And then at the same time, we had a P-8 Poseidon Subhunter off the coast of Long Island, which is really rare, near the Hudson Canyon area. And we currently have 2 U.S. B-52 nuclear bombers flying over Texas, which is pretty unusual as well. We also had a very unusual radio transmission earlier this morning. A National Guard station in Meridian, Mississippi, probably Keyfield Air National Guard Station, did a radio check on the primary nuclear war frequency here in the U.S., okay? And so this could potentially mean that all the bases around the Gulf of America are now on high alert for a possible Iranian missile attack coming from the Caribbean or South America or from the Gulf of America itself. Okay, the Iranians have missiles that they put inside of shipping containers, and they can launch those missiles from the shipping containers. Okay, so a National Guard station, Keyfield Air National Guard Station, which is right on the Gulf, did a radio check on the primary U.S. nuclear war frequency, which is extremely rare, guys. Okay, that is like a unicorn, okay? And we've had an unprecedented number of U.S. military transport aircraft flying to the Isa Air Base in Bahrain over the last 96 hours. At least 13 U.S. C-17 Globemasters flew from Osan, South Korea, to Isa Air Base in Bahrain. Okay, so we're moving Patriot missiles into position. This is extremely serious, guys. Okay, this is going to be a massive campaign. It's going to be much bigger than shock and awe. Okay, stealth bombers, guys. 7 stealth bombers out of 20. That's almost 40% of all of our stealth bombers. Okay, you don't move that much hardware for no reason. Okay, the stealth bombers are critical for our nuclear deterrent. So we're not going to move 40% of them somewhere for no reason, okay? And here we have another nuclear war command and control plane that was airborne this afternoon. And the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier, along with its associated warships as part of Carrier Strike Group 1, was spotted earlier today on satellite imagery transiting west through the Sulu Sea in the Philippines, en route to the Middle East. So this carrier is still near the Philippines, so it's still going to be a couple of more days before it reaches the Middle East. So I don't know if they're going to hold off on any strikes until the aircraft carrier gets into position. We'll have to wait and see. And we're also hearing that Israel has now imposed an exit ban at all of their Air Force bases due to the rising tensions between the U.S. and Iran. And we have some concerning news coming out of Russia. The Russian president has signed a decree ordering the conscription of 160,000 citizens into military service from April through July of this year. Okay, 160,000 people being drafted into the Russian military over the next 3 to 4 months. That is clearly a sign that Putin is getting ready for some kind of big move. And my guess is he's going to invade the Baltics, because in mid-September, Russia and Belarus are set to conduct joint military exercises right on the border of the Baltic countries. Okay, so that would be the perfect timing to draft all these people, 160,000 of them, and then send them to the Baltics in September. It's just perfect timing, okay? So we could see it happen this fall. And Finland is now following in the footsteps of Poland, and they have withdrawn from the Ottawa Convention, which bans the use of anti-personnel mines. The Prime Minister of Finland, Petteri Orpo, said the decision comes as a direct response to growing aggression from Russia. He said Russia is behaving increasingly aggressively. We must be ready to defend ourselves by any means, Orpo said. So that is huge news, guys, okay? Poland withdrew from this convention, the Ottawa Convention, a few weeks ago, and they started mining their border with Russia and Belarus. Okay, and now Finland is doing the same thing, and also the Baltic countries. So something is brewing, guys. They have intelligence. They wouldn't be doing this for no reason. Okay, and I think it's going to go down this year. And Putin refuses to end the war in Ukraine, and the peace talks with Trump are reportedly at a deadlock, according to Reuters. And Russia has rejected U.S. proposals and demands that Ukraine abandon NATO, fully cede the 4 occupied territories, and downsize their military. And the Deputy Foreign Minister of Russia, Sergei Rybakov, said Russia cannot accept U.S. proposals to end the war in Ukraine in their current form because they do not address the problems that Moscow regards as having caused the conflict. Okay, so Russia has rejected the ceasefire deal, and that's why the president of the U.S. is so mad at Russia, because they have rejected all of his efforts. Okay, and Putin basically just crumpled up everything and threw it back at the U.S. So this is very, very serious. And the Israeli news outlet Mariv, citing an Israeli official, reported that Israel will not allow Iran to possess a nuclear weapon. And Israeli intelligence has identified unusual movement of ballistic missiles in Iraqi territory. So probably the proxies of Iran are getting their missiles ready. And we know that Iran has put all of their missiles on full alert in their underground bases. And a member of the Iranian parliament's presiding board has publicly advocated for Iran to develop and test an atomic bomb, arguing it would bring security to the nation similar to that of North Korea. And we currently have massive exercises underway around Taiwan. China is conducting a massive blockade exercise, and they have been using all of the branches of their military in this exercise. Okay, their missile forces, their air force, their navy, everything. Okay, and Taiwan detected as many as 19 Chinese warships yesterday around their island, and also the Chinese aircraft carrier Shandong was also detected around Taiwan. Okay, so 20 warships, guys, and an aircraft carrier around Taiwan right now. And the Chinese Coast Guard announced that it is conducting law enforcement patrols around Taiwan. These operations include pre-inspection, arrest, interception, seizure, and other enforcement. So that sounds to me like a blockade. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but sounds like they're starting some kind of a blockade. And China has officially confirmed that they have launched joint military exercises around Taiwan, practicing a blockade of key areas. Okay, and their Eastern Theater Command deployed Army, Navy, Air Force, and rocket forces. And they said that they were doing sea-to-air combat readiness patrols, joint seizure of comprehensive security, assault on maritime and ground targets, blockade on key areas and sea areas. It is a stern warning and forceful deterrence against Taiwan independence separatist forces. So that's what the Chinese military said. And the Taiwan Defense Ministry stated that they dispatched military planes and warships and activated land-based missile systems to monitor and respond to the Chinese military activities. So this is very, very concerning. And we also know that China conducted simulated bombing runs on Taiwan with their H-6 heavy bombers and fighter aircraft. So that is very concerning. And want to just show you guys some more flight paths here. So here we have over 20 C-17 Globemasters that flew to South Korea in the last 96 hours. And I don't know why they're sending all these C-17s to South Korea. I don't know if it's because of Iran. I don't know if it's because of China or North Korea. But this is insane. Okay, for this many C-17s to be moved to South Korea is unprecedented. And last night we had more U.S. military cargo planes or transport planes go down to the Middle East from the U.S. and from Germany. Here you can see 5 C-17s. And then here you can see a C-5 Super Galaxy, which is the largest military cargo plane in the U.S. military. And it went from Ramstein to Qatar, and then it went back, so probably bringing some Patriot missiles to protect not just our base over there, but also all of the oil fields in Saudi Arabia. And here we have some pictures coming out of China showing this massive drill that they're doing around Taiwan. Here you can see Chinese troops scrambling to their missile launchers, short-range ballistic missiles. These are the missiles they would use to strike Taiwan. And then here's a Chinese heavy bomber, nuclear-capable bomber. Here's a Chinese warship. And we had more reconnaissance around Eastern Europe last night. Intense NATO reconnaissance in the Baltics and northern Poland and southern Finland. So something is brewing here, guys. Okay, this is absolutely insane. And we also had this Russian Navy plane leave Kaliningrad, which is pretty unusual. And Poland is going to be purchasing 2 Visby-class missile corvettes from the Swedish company Saab. So Poland is buying more warships. And Iran reportedly seized 2 fuel tankers in the Persian Gulf. And the UK, France, and Ukraine will hold a meeting in the coming days dedicated to security guarantees. And the German foreign minister arrived in Ukraine on an unannounced visit. And the U.S. Space Force wants a new orbital carrier. The orbital carrier is being designed by Seattle-based company Gravitics and is funded by the Space Force's SpaceWorks Development Office, which partners with private industry to develop new technologies and spacecraft. The orbital carrier is designed to carry multiple maneuverable space vehicles that can deliver a rapid response to address threats on orbit, Gravitics wrote in a statement. That means it will act as the space-based equivalent of an aircraft carrier. Wow, that is absolutely crazy, guys. So the U.S. Space Force is developing an orbital carrier. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I wanted to give a big shout out to Steve Quayle. Thank you very much, Steve Quayle, for sharing out my video yesterday. I really appreciate it. Guys, check out stevequayle.com. I'm sure a lot of you guys know who he is. He's a legend. He used to go on Coast to Coast AM. He's got his own website. Lots of interesting information there. Check out my Patreon. It's only $3 a month, and you get access to all of these video updates with no advertisements, and you get priority access to them because I upload them to Patreon before I post them to YouTube. And the link to my Patreon is in the description below this video. Also, download my free app from the Google Play Store. It lets me send out notifications to you when things are breaking. And when everything goes down in Iran, I will be covering everything live, okay? So make sure you have my app. Make sure you're following my channel closely because things are going to happen very quickly. It's going to be very intense. It's going to be unlike anything we've probably seen in our lifetime, okay? So that's pretty much it for now. I might be back later on tonight on the live stream, so check back in the live stream around 10 or 11 p.m. Also, I'm going to be on the Daily Excellence channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, and we're going to talk about everything. So Daily Excellence at 8 p.m. and then my channel probably around 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.